What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And this video is all about the recent interview that Dricus Du Plessis had on this YouTube channel called the Dricus Du Plessis Show. You guys got to check this out in its entirety. I just pulled a few highlights, 7 in particular, that I wanted to show to you guys and highlight, and talk about some breaking news as well that is released in this interview. But one of the biggest takeaways I hope you get from watching these little clips and hearing my dialogue is just having some respect for Dricus Du Plessis as a fighter, as a competitor, as a mind in the sport. And the cool thing about this interview is for folks like me who aren't fighters but are trying to achieve myriad goals in business, man, you can learn so much from fighters, because I've mentioned this so many times. The career of a fighter is like this little mini pressure cooker of it's like a condensed life cycle, if you will. So you can, they go through the most intense and difficult situations you can imagine. Your life is on the line. It's all culminating. It's happening in front of an audience. And the way that they have to learn how to deal with that pressure in a very short period of time can be that those principles can be extracted and applied to us regular folks in the real world with, I believe, tremendous success. If you listen to these mindsets, there's so many things that I try and take from fighters and interviews leading up to fights and fight camps and things like that I feel like are so valuable. And it's like those mindsets that they need them to be ironclad, bulletproof, for them to be able to achieve what they need to achieve. But if we can just have a fraction of that, a fragment of those mindsets, it really can enable us to achieve great things in the business world, which I think are the situations that we deal with as entrepreneurs or business people or whatever we're trying to do, YouTubers, whatever you want to say. These goals, I don't think it's just the situations aren't nearly as competitive and as life or death and so on. So having a fragment of that mindset can take us a long way. That's my point. That's what I believe. And that's why I think I love to listen to fighters, but especially fighters as intelligent and articulate as Dricus Du Plessis, who can not only walk the walk, but explain how he's walking the walk. That's why I think these interviews are so fruitful and useful for fans and people aspiring to do great things, etc. Okay, that's my quick overview. Now let's get into the mix. We're going to go through these 7 different clips. And the first one is highlighting Dricus's incredible work ethic and approach to the sport of mixed martial arts. Now, I know he's going to be fighting Khamzat Chimaev next. And this is a fight that I've said many times over that I believe Khamzat has the advantage. I believe Khamzat will win. But you listen to the way he talks about his approach and how scientific it is and how dialed in he is. And we don't know what's going to happen. No matter what people might say, what I might say, what experts might say, we never know. And I got to tell you that listening to this interview, it really makes me concerned, because Khamzat Chimaev, as much as I'm a fan of Dricus Du Plessis, Khamzat Chimaev is my favorite fighter. I have been wanting to see him nab a belt since 2020. I feel like he could have done it even back then, but things have gotten in the way. He's gotten sick, etc., and hasn't been able to accomplish that goal as of yet. So I'm a fan of Khamzat. I believe he can do it, and I want him to do it. But man, when you listen to Dricus, I think it really makes you wonder how this is going to go, and it makes me as a Khamzat fan worried. Now, if it does go in Dricus's direction, of course, I'll be happy for him as well. I am a massive fan of Dricus Du Plessis as well, and this interview has made me a bigger fan. But I'm hoping for Khamzat. But yeah, like I said, listening to the way he prepares and how smart he is about the game makes me really worried. So let me let you listen for yourself. Just listen to how he approaches fights and the type of work ethic he provides. You can see why he's been so successful thus far.
When I leave the gym, I'm training for 5 hours a day. And do you think you are so lucky that your job stops after the training session, 2-3 sessions a day? No. That's when you go home. That's when you make notes. That's when your mental training starts. That's where you take a pen and paper and you take notes of the guys. You start making notes on each and every guy, especially guys that are close to you in the top 5. This is what he does good. And not only what they do good, what is threatening about them and where they're good, where they're bad, but also learning from them. Now, after the second fight with Sean Strickland, after the first fight, I stole his jab. I 100% stole that jab from him.
So let me just jump in. How cool is that? What he's doing is he's fighting, and he's also paying attention and absorbing information, or maybe after the fact he's rewatching the fight. But it reminds me of that movie Highlander, where you defeat an opponent and you kind of absorb their energy. It's like that's what he's doing with all his opponents. And he goes on to say that he does this for each and every opponent after he's fought them, what he extracts from them, and then what he now implements into his own game. And I've never heard a fighter talk like this. But also going back to him about, hey, your job's not over when you do your 5 hours at the gym. You don't go home and chill or do whatever, right? We've heard other fighters say they just go home and play video games or relax. Like, no, he's taking notes. And I love that so much. I try to do the same thing. I try to outwork people in what I'm trying to do professionally in my life, and take that time where other people are taking it off, and instead use that to even edge up just incrementally or marginally. And I noticed it has paid massive dividends in the past. So just such amazing words of wisdom nuggets here. But this is another reason why he's so darn good, is because he keeps extracting. So listen to what else he's extracted from Izzy, from Robert Whittaker, etc.
Where he throws it.
It was so effective.
And it was effective. I caught him. The first jab he threw, I patted and jabbed him straight. Gave him some of his own medicine because I learned from him, because he's such an incredible fighter. Sean Strickland's a great fighter. And I learned from him. After I fought Izzy, I took from him. I steal from him. After I fought Whittaker, even though I knocked him out, I took from him because there was a few things he did that I was like, okay, that was really good. Israel Adesanya, he did this uppercut that I just in the fight couldn't figure out. Usually
he goes into details now about the uppercut, but you get my point every time, man. He's a really high level thinker, and that's scary if you're a Khamzat fan, as this matchup now gets closer and closer. All right, that is point number one that I wanted to showcase. Now, point number two, I love this, and I've thought about this as well in my life. If you say you're going to do something so fantastic, or you're going to try and be the best this, or you're going to try and get in incredible shape or whatever, and once you make these proclamations, yet you're not giving 100% effort, he says straight up, you're a liar. And I agree, because if you're going to go out there and you're going to speak emphatically about doing something right or doing something the best way, and then you're not going home and actually putting in the work and doing your due diligence, that's kind of what's happening. And I love that he has this mindset about putting meaning behind his words. I think that makes him a fierce competitor, a dangerous opponent, and just honestly a truth teller. So check this out.
Being humble is not believing in your own heart, in my opinion. Being humble is showing up every day and working to be the best, not just saying I'm the best, or taking the sport for granted, and not being, the sport will humble you like that.
Yeah.
You can never take that for granted. It's about showing up every day. That's being humble. Promising the people that you will keep this belt for South Africa. Promising South Africa that we are the best in the world. I can make all that promise all day. I am a liar, and you are cocky and you're arrogant if you don't put in the work, because so many people believe in me and this belt, and so many South Africans are behind me, and so many people that do believe in me. I don't care about the haters. What I care about is proving them right. And the only way for me honoring my flag, my country, and all these amazing people from South Africa that's been supporting me, is by showing up every day and working my ass off to make sure that we keep this belt.
I love that. Again, you can say whatever you want, but if he's what I take from that is, when he says something, he means it in the aftermath, if that makes sense. Like, he's not going to throw out hollow words. He's going to say, I'm going to be your champion. We're going to keep this belt. And you can never 100% guarantee anything, especially in this sport. But what he will guarantee is what he can control. And what he can control is that he'll show up each and every day and put in the maximum effort in the 5 hours of training a day, in the note taking afterwards, in the discussions he has after the fact. I think at some point in this interview too, he talks about, I believe, discussing the fights even with his fiance, talking about each fight being a piece of history. He is so dialed into the sport. Now, again, I would still say I'm going to favor Khamzat Chimaev in this fight. I think solely because I don't want this video to be about Khamzat and DDP and that whole thing primarily, but I just, I'm saying so many great things about DDP. You might say, well, why aren't you switching your pick to DDP? I still just think the physical attributes and talent that Khamzat Chimaev has, I just don't think anybody has answer to it, a good answer to it. That being said, is a fight, anything can happen. So that's why I'm saying this. But in terms of DDP in isolation from Khamzat, I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with. And I think with his style on top of his mental approach, I think he's virtually unbeatable if it were not for Khamzat. And maybe I'm wrong even there. Maybe he will be Khamzat. We shall see. Now, this next clip has to do with the discussions of injury and the report from Kevin Iole. Dricus does talk about the injury or the reported injury or alleged injury, which he is saying is not real, is made up. But I wanted to start with this clip because I think it explains, obviously, I mean, I call this, everybody assumed this, I think, who the people that believed he had an injury, we assume that he didn't want to disclose it because it can give his opponent, Khamzat in particular, an advantage. If he knows that something is wrong, he may target that area, etc. But anyways, he talks about weakness in particular and how you can't show any signs of weakness in mixed martial arts or your opponents will take advantage of it. So first, let me play this clip, and then we're going to jump to the part where he's asked directly about the injury. He more or less deflects that question. But here, check this out first.
He's a certain person, and they don't understand what it's like to be in this industry. If you show this much weakness, you're done for.
Yeah.
People will smell it. That's why if you have to know, if you're going to put something on, like, what's that Sarah Bullet that said, he hopes I lose the belt.
So he's talking about the back and forth with Shara Bullet when Shara Bullet was talking smack to him and how he was saying how he went after him, etc., with full force. But to me, what I take from that is, of course, you don't want to admit any weakness. You have an injury, you have some issue going on that's going to prevent you from taking the fight during International Fight Week. Even as his coach mentioned, those were the original talks. You're not going to disclose it. And I don't fault him for that. What doesn't happen in this interview, when he is asked eventually about the injury, he never addresses, maybe he doesn't have to in his defense, but he never addresses why those rumors began, where Kevin Iole got that information. You notice Kevin Iole has been remarkably silent on this front. He hasn't printed a retraction. And just a theory is maybe he did get that information, maybe even got it from somebody inside Dricus's camp. Maybe they expressed that they were upset with him for reporting it, and his attempt at maintaining the relationship was like, I'm just not going to say anything more about it. I can't print a retraction because it's true, but I'm just not going to say anything more about it. I'm not going to comment on it, and hopefully it goes away. That's my feeling as to what happened. Otherwise, if it was definitely not true and Kevin Iole made a mistake, I'm sure he would print or state a retraction. He didn't do that. Now we go to the part in the interview where DDP is asked point blank about the injury. And notice, it's funny, I don't know if you guys have heard of that guy, George Santos, who's that expelled congressman. I don't know. I never heard of him before. I don't really follow politics whatsoever, but I just started watching a bunch of content and interviews of him lately. I mean, that guy is like the craziest liar I've ever seen. You could just tell. You could, with most of the things he says, he is just deflecting, dodging. He's just very slippery in interviews. Now, Dricus is not nearly the same level whatsoever. It just reminded me just a tad of like a tiny bit of deflection. Not that Dricus is being dishonest by any means here, but I think he's doing an artful job of dodging this question, not really specifically answering it, not getting into the weeds about why it was wrong, maybe how it got started. He's just completely no-selling it, and I think that's his only option at this point, especially if he doesn't want to disclose it and doesn't want to give his opponent any advantage. So I think it makes sense. But just watch and judge for yourself.
People trying to break news that you've got injured, that sort of thing. Like, do you pay attention to that? Like, I mean, I saw your Instagram where you came out and said, guys, I'm not injured. What are you talking about?
So one of the most true statements that I've ever heard, I don't know who said it, was people want to see you succeed, just not too much.
And again, you might be somewhat addressing folks like me who are staunch Khamzat Chimaev fans, and maybe saying it from that perspective. This has nothing to do with that. This was a report from Kevin Iole, who's one of the oldest journalists in the game, one of the most respected journalists in mixed martial arts. So it's not me by any means. I was hoping it was not true. I wanted the fight to happen sooner. I was praying that the fight wasn't going beyond a certain timeline. So I was hoping he wasn't injured. It has nothing to do with, and I think he knows that. I think he knows this has nothing to do with people wanting to see him succeed or fail or any of that. I think most people actually are pretty big Dricus fans. If you sit down and listen to him and watch his fight style, he's a really fun fighter to watch. He's if you haven't, you're listening to his interviews, you're totally missing out because he's amazing to listen to. This has nothing to do with that. This was coming from Kevin Iole. Like if it came from Kevin Iole or Ariel Helwani, I'm like 99.9% going to believe it. That's all it was. And so for him, I think it's like kind of pivoting to being like, no, people just want to see me fail. No, it's not, it had nothing to do with that. Not at all. In fact, I just wanted to know how you think Kevin Iole could have gotten this wrong. He doesn't address it whatsoever. I'll let him finish and then we'll move on to the next point.
People want to see you do great things until you become too great. Then jealousy comes in. That's where people go, this guy, no. He's becoming like a windgat. He's getting too cocky. No. And that's normal. We're human beings. That's how it is. And do I pay attention? Yeah. But does it have any effect on me? No.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's dope. Again, that rock hard mindset. He's not letting the outside noise or distractions, excuse me, I'm sick if I didn't mention that, get into his head. And what else can he do at this point? He's just got to stay quiet, say nothing about it. So I don't fault him for deflecting, but it still leads me to that same conclusion that I do think something did happen. And that's why the fight, because it would have been so dope to happen during International Fight Week. Something is preventing that from happening. And it is what it is. Because there's really good news at the end of this video in terms of the actual date of this fight. Okay, now we're gonna go to an incredible quote about his style. People are calling it goofy. People are calling it terrible, like Darren Till. But this is so illuminating because I used to think that Dricus' style more or less evolved around his natural movement. So like when it looks awkward, it's because he's natural. He's kind of maybe somewhat of an awkward guy. So his style was built around his natural body mechanics. But in this clip, he explains that actually they thought carefully, him and his coach, about this style and wanting to make it intentionally different. So that, and just like we've heard fighters come in and say, like, dude, I didn't know how to prepare for that. I didn't know what to expect. It was so weird. It was confusing. This is all thought out ahead of time. This is not an accident. I was blown away by this. I don't know. You guys tell me if you were equally blown away or you're like, no, duh, of course we assume this. But I was just so blown away with this. And this, again, comes back to his immensely high, him and his coach, their immensely high level of fight IQ. Check this out.
And after that fight, I said, people have been criticizing my style. And my style is not just my style. My style is trained, like I said, by the great Morné Fessett. The man has a mind like no other in the sport. We sit together and we work stuff out and we try to do things that everybody else is not doing. See the holes in the things as the norm. See the norm of striking. Yeah, it looks pretty, but how you counter that pretty striking. Do you think if I fought Adesanya with the pretty striking style like his, I would have beaten him? No, he's been fighting like that forever. And he is the best at that. I had to change it up into a style. And if you look at all the opponents, every single one of them said the same. It's hard to figure him out. And how do you figure something out that you have no concept of? Because who's going to train like that? Where are you going to find somebody to simulate my fight style?
Yeah.
And that's where we've been at this for years and years, to exactly do things the way nobody else does it.
What can you say? It's crazy. It's brilliant. It's like, it's an acknowledgement. It's a humble acknowledgement to say, we have Israel Adesanya, the legendary kickboxer. Why am I going to train the exact same way when I'll never even be one half as good as he is, because he's been doing it in his entire life? So they're finding another way in to get such a drastically unique and different style that it almost confuses Izzy, throws Izzy off his game while playing into his hands, because now you're going to have to play his game because his striking style is going to be confusing you. So it's really, really, really interesting. This guy gets criticized so much. If you remember back when Conor McGregor was fighting Floyd Mayweather, he said people were making fun of him. A lot of boxers were joking about some of the techniques and training drills that he was doing to get ready for Floyd Mayweather, saying he had no idea what he was doing. And he said, people are making fun of me now, but once I destroy Floyd Mayweather, everybody's going to be saying, no, well, how did he do that? Wait, now we want to emulate what Conor did. Now we're going to adopt these training styles. They're going to laugh until they get converted, and then they start doing that and realizing the power of it and the efficiency of it. Well, that didn't happen. Of course, Floyd Mayweather beat Conor McGregor as most people anticipated. But with Dricus, I think that is going to happen because, I mean, he made it. He's champ. He beat Izzy. He beat Strickland. He beat Whitaker. So it's crazy. It is one of those things that at first people are mocking. A lot of people are still mocking, but it pretty much seems obvious to me that a lot of people probably already are now, but will be in the future trying to emulate and figure out what these guys have been doing differently and how can they do something similar, do something different in a similar way, I suppose, to also reap the same rewards. Very, very, very interesting. All right, now we're moving on to point number 6. I just thought this was interesting since Bo Nickal recently fought and DDP has trained alongside RDR, Reinier de Ridder. Hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But what he says here is not in relation to RDR. It's in relation to Bo Nickal. And I thought this was great perspective from somebody who Bo Nickal had previously talked negatively about. And so here it is on Eating Humble Pies. Check this out.
You know, I have no problem with Bo Nickal's hype. What I do have a problem with was he was talking about people who has done what he's never done. He became a 3-time NCAA champion, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I mean, this is not wrestling. This is not wrestling, my good man. And he found out that the hard way.
Yeah.
I think he thought he was going to walk through Reinier. And I thought Reinier had a beautiful game plan. What I like about Reinier de Ridder, I think he's going to be a problem. I think he's a very good fighter.
He's on your radar.
Absolutely. I mean, he came in on a tear in the UFC. I've trained with him. He is really, really good. And I think people misjudge his style. I think he's big. And he neutralized Bo. He neutralized him because he wasn't afraid to get taken down because he's such a high-level grappler. So Bo was like, cool, I'm taking this guy down. Once he had him down, what was he going to do? Just hold him down.
Yeah.
He switched around, got Bo down, and Bo Nickal looked, as soon as they got up, he looked gassed. He looked like a fish out of water because now the only thing that saves him in every fight is his wrestling.
Yeah.
And now that one thing is not working for you. Now the takedown's getting stuffed. Now you're getting taken down. And you have a guy with more in the arsenal because his striking is terrible.
Yeah.
He's not a great grappler. He's a great wrestler. And I actually, people asked me before the fight, said, I think Reini's going to win this 100% because I watched Bo's fight versus Gordon Ryan. And Bo is such a pure wrestler. And his wrestling is incredible. Once again, we are not wrestlers. We are MMA fighters.
There it is. I just thought his statements were important and it made sense because, again, Dricus is somebody that Bo has talked negatively about. He's talked negatively about Khamzat too, said Khamzat's wrestling is trash. And DDP's little subtle trash talk there is so good too, because he's just like, my friend, this is no wrestling. I can't do the accent, but you know what I'm saying. I like it. And it's fair and it's true and it is what it is. And he still doesn't even have necessarily hate or negativity towards Bo Nickal. But I understand his position and what he's saying because this is one guy that was directly in the line of sight of Bo Nickal's trash talk. So it's a fair rebuttal. Just want to highlight that on the heels of Bo Nickal's first loss in the UFC. All right, we go to the final clip. This is the big dog. This is what you guys have been waiting for. Many of you guys might be jumping straight to this clip right here in the interview. But now we finally get some clarification on when Dricus Du Plessis will be facing off against Khamzat Chimaev for the belt. Let's go. No other intro necessary. Let's hear what he has to say.
Khamzat Chimaev, what's happening? What's the latest? I mean,
so we have a date. But we have potential of 2 dates. I already agreed to both. A lot of people are saying, is it this year? Yes, 100%. It's not far away. It's not that far away. The announcement will be made soon. And with me and the UFC, we've known this all these rumors that came out with injuries. I don't know where it came from. It was ridiculous. I was like, okay. And I just left it for like a week. And then I was like, okay, everybody had their fun. Now you're all going to look stupid. Yeah. And we've already agreed on a date. We had, and that's been a while ago. So I'm just waiting for the contract, but that's the fight that's happening. It's going to be happening in the next couple of months, maximum 4 months. It's going to happen one of these days.
Oh, there it is. Within the next 4 months. And what am I taking that to mean? Excuse me. Woo. Not 4 months from now would be September. Sadly, I must admit that I am assuming it's going to be right at the 4-month mark. If he's saying within 4 months, I wish it would be in July. I don't feel like it's going to be that. I wish it would be in August. I feel like if he's saying within 4 months, that's 4 months. That's just my interpretation of what he's saying. Maybe it'll be sooner, but hey, I can live with that. September, I cannot wait. Let's go. There is the full video. That's it. That's all I got for you on this amazing interview with DDP. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys also appreciate and like to listen to DDP? Do you feel as though you can also extract amazing life lessons? Are you also impressed by his work ethic, by the way he trains, by the scientific way in which his style has been concocted between him and his coach to disrupt other fighters? Do you love how he takes from his opponents and adopts their skills and their little tricks of the trade into his arsenal? Let me know your thoughts. I love this interview. I thought it was incredible. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.